I sold a company that was making multiple six figures a year in income. Packed my whole life into 2 bags, moved to Bali, and within a few months, I was lying in bed every single night, crying myself to sleep, watching my savings disappear, and genuinely thinking, okay, this is it. I have to go back to Hungary and find a job. And the mad thing is, I did all of this on purpose. This wasn't some accident. This wasn't bad luck. I made a very deliberate decision to walk away from something that was working for me. Something comfortable, something safe, and I nearly lost everything because of it. Now, I could stand here and tell you it was all worth it and everything worked out beautifully, but that's not why you are here. And honestly, that's not the full story either. What I actually want to talk about is why I did it, and more importantly, what was the decision and everything that came after it told me about the one thing that separates the people who actually build something real from the 99% who just keep planning to. Welcome back, my name is Tom. I'm an average Hungarian guy living in Bali. I built and sold a marketing agency before I was 25, and now I'm building something completely different in public from scratch, one step at a time, with a superpower called ADHD. The number one reason most people never start isn't that they don't have a good enough idea. It's not that they don't have enough followers or enough money or enough time. I've worked over 130 clients on their businesses. I've seen this pattern so many times, it's almost boring now. The real reason is simpler and more annoying than any of that. They are waiting for the right moment, for more clarity, for the plan to feel perfect before they take a single step. And that wait becomes weeks, then months, then somehow 5 years just have gone by and the idea is still just sitting there in a notes app somewhere. And I get it. I genuinely do, because I've been that person too. But I also saw the company at 24 after building it from nothing in just 2 years. And now I'm rebuilding myself again from zero and publicly with no safety net behind me. So when I talk about what it actually takes to start, I'm not pulling this from a book or a course I bought yesterday. I'm pulling it from the mistakes I made, the fuckloads of money I lost, and the nights I spent wondering if I'd completely ruined my life. That's what earns me the right to talk about this. Not a certificate, not a course, not a title, just the actual lived experience of doing the thing, falling at it, and figuring out what was really going on underneath. So, if you are sitting on an idea right now, if you've been thinking about building something online, but you just haven't pulled the trigger yet, this episode is for you. Let me paint a picture for you. Someone has an idea, a good one actually. Maybe they've been working in marketing for 6 years and they reckon they could teach other people how to do it. Maybe they are a personal trainer who knows more about nutrition than most qualified dietitians. Maybe they have built 3 successful e-commerce stores and they could genuinely help someone avoid every mistake they made along the way. So here's the thing, the knowledge is there, the experience is there, everything is there, and then what happens? They open a Google Doc, start planning, who's my audience exactly, or what's my niche, should I start on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or LinkedIn, do I need a website first, what if someone else is already doing this, what if I'm not an expert enough, what if I start and nobody cares? And that Google Doc just keeps growing. More questions, more research, more planning, more refining. The idea gets more and more detailed and more perfect inside their head. Meanwhile, nothing actually exists in the real world. Not a single post, not a single conversation with a potential customer. And then I see this constantly now. People open ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI tool they are using, and then they ask to help them figure out their niche, their positioning, their ideal customer, their whole business strategy, or my favorite, new Instagram bio every other day. And look, I use AI tools every single day. They are genuinely useful, but here's the problem with using them at this stage. You are just simply outsourcing your thinking to a machine before you've done any thinking yourself. You are asking an algorithm to tell you who you are and what you have to offer to the world. And it will give you a beautiful, structured, confident sounding answer 10 bullet points, very clear and very logical, and you will be even more confused than ever before. Because now you have 17 niche ideas that all sound equally valid, and none of them came from you. None of them came from your actual experience or your actual gut feeling or a real conversation with a real human being who might actually pay you. That's not strategy, that's just a more sophisticated way of hiding. And this is what I call the tunnel vision trap. And it's more dangerous than doing nothing because it feels like progress, but actually it feels like just being smart and strategic and responsible. You are not just rushing in blindly, you are planning. Because as long as the idea only exists in your head, it can't fail, it can be rejected. No one can tell you it's shit. You are completely safe inside that Google Doc or this custom GPT project. I know this because I did the exact same thing. When I moved to Bali after selling my agency, I had this very clear picture in my head. I was going to be the business coach for service-based business owners. That was my thing. That was my lane. I knew it. I had the experience, I had the clients, I had the results to back it up. So I planned it meticulously. The offer, the positioning, the content pillars, the whole thing, perfectly designed for one very specific person. And then something started happening that I completely ignored for months. The people actually engaging with my content, the ones sliding into my DMs, the one booking calls with me, they weren't asking about scaling their service businesses. They were asking about limiting beliefs, about fear, about anxiety, self-doubt, and how to get out of their own way. The market was literally tapping me on the shoulder, going like, hey mate, over here, this is what we actually need from you. And I just couldn't see it. Because I was so deep in the tunnel of my original plan that any signal pointing somewhere different just felt like a distraction. So I just simply ignored it. Kept pushing the same offer to the wrong people and kept wondering why it wasn't working. I'm doing everything well. And this is the thing nobody tells you about planning. You can map out the most detailed, most logical, most well-researched strategy in the world, but the market doesn't care about your plan. Real people react to real things in ways you simply cannot predict from inside a Google Doc. You could spend 6 months perfecting your positioning as a singing teacher for women over 40 with 2 kids, beautiful niche, super specific, textbook stuff. And then you post one video about confidence and your comments are full of 22-year-old lads who want to learn guitar. What do you do with that? Do you ignore it because it doesn't fit your plan, the original plan? Or do you open your eyes and actually look at what's happening in front of you in your content? The 1% who actually build something, they are not smarter than everyone else. They just understand one thing that most people don't. You don't need to see the whole path. You only need to see the first step, and then you take it, and then you look around, and then you take the next one. That's it. That's the whole game. But this is the point where it gets more interesting, because taking the first step when everything in your brain is screaming at you to wait, to plan more, to be more ready, that requires something most people aren't willing to do. And that's exactly what happened when I decided to sell my agency. From the outside, it looked insane. The business was generating 6 figures a year. I had a team of 8 people running most of the operations. My working hours were genuinely low. It was comfortable. It was stable. It was everything most people spend years trying to build. And I just simply wanted to walk away from it. When I told people, the reactions were pretty much all the same. Why would you do that? You've got something most people would kill for. Just keep it running, enjoy the income, build something else on the side, and don't be a fucking idiot. But the conversation that hit me the hardest wasn't with a friend or a business contact. It was with my dad. My dad has always been the person I go to when I need an honest perspective. Not a comfortable one, but when I told him I was thinking about selling, he didn't panic. He just looked at me and said something I haven't forgotten since. He said, don't sell the agency unless you already have at least the same amount of personal income coming in from something else. If you do that, it's a brilliant move. You sell a company at 24, years after starting it, while already making the same money somewhere else. That's a success story, but if you sell it without anything else in place, that's a very risky decision, and honestly, it's a stupid one too. And he wasn't wrong. Objectively, logically, financially, he was absolutely damn right. I sat with that for a while. Got uncertain, started questioning myself. Maybe I should wait, maybe I should build the next thing first and then sell. Maybe he's right and I'm just being reckless. But here's the thing I kept coming back to. I wasn't selling because I needed the money or because the business was failing. I was selling because I genuinely knew, that if I kept that safety net underneath me, I would never fully commit to building something new. I would always have the agency to fall back on, and that fallback would become a sailing. And sometimes the most strategic thing you can do is remove the option to retreat. So I took the leap. Without the safety net my dad described, without another income stream already in place, without a clear and perfect plan for what came next. Was I scared? Fuck yes. Was I certain it was the right call? Not even close. But I also understood something that I don't think I could have put into words at the time. Waiting for the perfect conditions to make a bold move is just a very reasonable sounding excuse to never make it. And there will always be a reason to wait. Always. Your family and friends will always have a logical argument for why now isn't the right moment. And the people who build something real, they hear the argument, they respect it, and they jump anyway. And it's not because they are reckless, and not because they don't feel the fear either, but because they understand the courage isn't the absence of doubt. It's moving forward while the doubt is still there, loud as ever, and telling you that you are making a mistake. I moved to Bali. I had savings, I had a plan, sort of, and I was more free than I had ever been in my entire life. And that's when everything started to fall apart. Honestly, Bali is a funny place. On the surface, it's paradise, genuinely. The weather, the people, the energy. There's a reason every entrepreneur and digital nomad ends up here eventually. It feels like the perfect place to build something. Everyone around you is creating, hustling, working on something exciting. The environment is electric. But it's also the perfect place to completely lose yourself, because the same energy that makes it inspiring makes it incredibly easy to jump on every fucking shiny object that comes to your way. And when you've got an unstructured life, no team, no external accountability, and a brain that runs on 200% every single minute, Bali will expose every single crack in your foundation. And mine had a lot of cracks. The first few weeks felt amazing. I was free, no clients to manage, no team to lead, no operational nonsense eating up my days. Just me and my laptop and this wide open space to build whatever I want. I joined new communities, I moved into a co-living house, I met new people, and then the chaos started. Monday, I was building a business coaching offer for service-based founders. On Wednesday, I was sketching out a software as a service product. And on Friday, I was researching an entirely different niche. I was working constantly, genuinely putting in the hours every day and producing absolutely jack shit. No clients, no income, just the exhausting, relentless cycle of starting things and stopping them before they had any chance to breathe. And the savings were going slowly at first, then faster. And here's what made it so much worse. At that point, I had no idea I had ADHD. I'd suspected it for years, had that quiet feeling in my back of my head that something was different about how my brain worked, but I didn't have the diagnosis. So every time I jumped between ideas, every time I couldn't finish something, every time I sat down to work and just froze, I put it down to one thing, and just simply lack of discipline. And that's what it felt like I was weak, like I didn't want it enough, like everyone else was able to sit down and just execute for hours, and I just couldn't. And when you are already burning through your savings in paradise, while watching other people around you seemingly building and growing and thriving, That story gets very, very dark very quickly. I was questioning everything. My past success with the agency started to feel like just luck. Like maybe I'd just been in the right place at the right time, and now the real Tom, the undisciplined, the unfocused, the chaotic one, was finally showing up. And then September came. I met my partner Amanda, and she did something that nobody had really done before. She just watched me, paid attention, and then very calmly started pointing out patterns she could see that I couldn't. The way I would light up completely when a new idea landed and then go completely cold only 3 days later. The way I would avoid certain tasks for weeks and not understand why. The way my brain never really switched off, not even for a single minute. And she held the mirror up in front of me, and for the first time, I actually looked into it. And what I saw wasn't an undisciplined person. It wasn't someone who didn't want it enough. It was someone whose brain was genuinely wired like just differently. Someone who had been trying to run a neurotypical operating system on a complete different hardwire his entire life. Getting the official diagnosis a few months later just confirmed what Amanda helped me see in September: mixed type ADHD, inattentive and hyperactive. Suddenly 25 years of patterns made complete sense. And here's the thing, understanding the ADHD, as relieving as that was, didn't fix the real wound underneath all of this here. Because the reason I was falling apart wasn't just the lack of structure or the undiagnosed ADHD, it was something deeper. Something I hadn't even admitted to myself yet. And that's what can break you completely easily if you don't pay attention to it. I want to be honest with you and about how bad it actually got. And I don't say this for a sympathy, I say because I think a lot of people watching this right now exactly what I'm about to describe, and nobody's really talking about it openly. There were weeks in 2025 where I was crying myself to sleep almost every day, genuinely, lying in my bed in Bali, this place I was dreaming about living here since 2020, starting at the ceiling and feeling the light, the biggest failure on the planet. I was seriously making plans to pack up, fly back to Hungary, find a job, a normal, regular 9 to 5 job, because at least then I would have something to show for myself. And think about that for a second. I would build a company from nothing, then scaled it to 6 figures, sold it at 24, and I was lying in a paradise, feeling completely worthless. I will tell you exactly how it happens. I had made my business results the measurement of my worth as a human being. When the agency was growing, when the numbers were going up, when the clients were coming in, I felt good about myself, confident and capable. Like I was enough. And then the coaching business didn't take off. The clients weren't coming. The income wasn't there, and without those results, without the external proof that I was succeeding, I had nothing to stand on. No floor, just this terrifying free fall of who I am if I'm not building something successful right now. And I see this everywhere, especially with entrepreneurs, especially with people who have had early success and are trying to build something new. We tie our identity to our output, our follower count, our revenue, our client results, our business growth, and it feels completely rational because the world rewards you for those things. People respect you more when the numbers are good. Opportunities open up, you feel like you matter. But here's what nobody tells you. When you build your entire sense of self on top of results, you are one bad month away from complete collapse. Because results fluctuate, businesses fail, niches don't work out, audiences don't respond. That's just the reality of building anything. And if your worth as a person is sitting on top of all of that, it's going to crumble with it. So let me say something very directly, and I want you to actually hear this, not just let it wash over you. So grab a pen and a paper and just write it down. You are not your business. You are not your revenue. You are not your follower count, or your client results, or your conversation rate, or any other number that goes up and down based on 1,000 variables you can't fully control. You are a human being, complete and valuable, exactly as you are right now. Before the business, before the results, before any of it. Building something online, building anything, is a byproduct of who you are. It is never ever the measurement of your worth, and the moment you start treating it like it is, you've already lost. Because you will make decisions from fear instead of clarity. You will stay in the wrong niche too long because pivoting feels like admitting you are a failure. You will ignore what the market is actually telling you because changing direction feels like giving up. You will grind yourself into the ground trying to prove something to yourself that no business result can ever actually prove. The 1% who build something real and sustainable, they are not immune to failure. They fail constantly. The difference is that they can separate a failure of a project or a business from the failure of a person. And they can lose without becoming the loss. And that's not some fluffy mindset bullshit. That's the most practical thing I can tell you. Because when you are not desperately trying to prove your worth through your results, you make clearer decisions, you pivot faster, you hear the market more accurately, and you create more authentically. Everything gets easier when you are not building from a place of desperation. And for me, this realization didn't come from a book or a podcast or a guru's course. It came from hitting the actual bottom, from the tears and the savings account going down and the genuine belief that I was done. And then slowly, very slowly, starting to understand that none of that made me less valuable as a person, not even slightly. That understanding changed everything in my life. Not overnight, but it changed everything. And once I had that foundation underneath me, a real one, not built on results, I could finally start building something that actually made sense. So let's bring this all together, because I want you to leave you with something you can actually use, not just a story, not just a moment of, oh, that's inspiring, that disappears the second you close this video. Here's what I know to be true after everything I've just told you. Most people are waiting for clarity before they start. They want to know exactly what they are building, exactly who is this for, exactly how it's going to work before they take the single step. And I understand. It feels responsible, it feels smart, I know, but it's completely backwards. Clarity is not something you think you're weighing to. You cannot plan your way to it, you cannot research your way to it, and you absolutely cannot prompt your way to it by asking ChatGPT to design your business identity for you at midnight. Clarity is built in the real world with real fucking people, through real feedback, one messy, imperfect, uncomfortable step at a time. Look at my story. I had a crystal clear plan when I moved to Bali. Business coaching for service-based founders, solid niche, real experience behind it. Logical as fuck. And then the market looked me dead in the eyes and said, mate, that's not what we need from you. But I couldn't hear it because I was so logged into the plan I'd built in my head that every signal pointing somewhere different felt like distraction rather than a direction. And here's the brutal truth about that. The plan wasn't strategy. The plan was a comfort blanket. As long as I wasn't executing the plan, I didn't have to be present enough to actually notice what's happening around me. I didn't have to be vulnerable enough to say, okay, this is not working. What is the market actually telling me? That's the tunnel vision trap. And it will kill your business before it ever has a chance to breathe. So, what do you do instead? You take the first step you can see, just one, not the whole staircase, not the entire roadmap, the one step that's right in front of you right now, and then you move. And then, this is a critical part, you keep your eyes open. You pay attention to what's happening around you. You listen to the people engaging with your content, your ideas, your message. You notice what they are actually asking for, not just what you assume they would want. Because the market will always tell you where to go, every single time. But only if you are actually moving and actually listening, obviously. And look, And look, will it be scary? Fuck yes. Absolutely it will. Will you feel ready? Nope, not even close. I promise you that. But here's what I need you to understand. The fear goes away when you are moving. The 1% who actually do something, they are not some special breed of fearless superhuman. They are just people who stopped waiting to feel ready and started building their way to clarity instead of thinking their way to it. And they stopped measuring their worth by how fast the clarity arrived. Because sometimes it takes longer than you planned. Sometimes you pivot 3 times before you find the thing that actually fits. And sometimes, like me, you sell a company, you live your best life, nearly lose everything, cry yourself to sleep, and then finally understand what you are actually supposed to be building and why. And this is not failure, that's the fucking process. And if you are sitting on an idea right now, or if you've been waiting for the perfect moment, or the perfect plan, or just enough confidence to finally start, I want you to hear this. You won't find clarity, you build it. One step at a time with open eyes. So take the bloody step. If you recognize something yourself somewhere in the story today, tell me in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram. I read every single one. And if you know someone who's been sitting on an idea and just can't seem to take the first step, send this to them and kick their ass. They need to hear it more than they know. See you in the next one.